Year 1930, the English economist John Keynes wrote an essay titled Economic Possibilities for Our Grandchildren, in which he predicted that within 2 generations, most people in the world would be working only 3 hours per day because the world was becoming more prosperous. Keynes also predicted that as people become wealthy and had more money at their disposal, they would increase their savings rather than their consumptions. Unfortunately, Keynes was wrong. Today, we are richer than any human generation that has come before us, but we still work long hours on the job we hate, and mostly sadly because we have no money in the bank. Most people don't save money. This 2019 survey by Yahoo Finance found that 69% of Americans have less than $1,000 in their savings. According to research by Yorkshire Building Society, 19% of UK citizens have less than £100 in their savings account. Even for retirement, we don't care to save. For example, the average American has $65,000 saved for retirement, while they'll need more than $1 million after retirement, according to this CNBC article.
How much money do you have in savings?
Not as much as
If you go out there and ask 100 people why they don't save money, 90% of them would probably tell you, I don't make enough money. And that sounds reasonable, right? I mean, if you don't make enough money or you think you don't make enough money, why should you save money? But there is a problem here. 2 problems, actually. Problem number 1 is that most of us will never feel that we have enough money. Never. In the year 1955, after working for many years in the British civil service, Cyril Parkinson published an essay in The Economist in which he wrote, "Work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion." In the year 1598, Parkinson published a book titled Parkinson's Law, The Pursuit of Progress, and used that book to propagate further what we know today as Parkinson's Law. According to Parkinson's Law, expenses always rise to meet income. This is the reason why you'll find people making more than $100,000 a year who have no money in the bank. As humans, our expenses naturally rise to meet our income, so you may never really feel that you have enough money. In the 2009 study, researchers Darrell Collins and his colleagues wanted to know how the poorest people in the world were living on less than $2 a day. What Darrell Collins found is that the poorest people in the world don't just live on less than $2 a day. Most of the poor people even save money. I have a personal experience related to what Darrell Collins' study found. You see, this is my 74-year-old mother. Even though she probably never made more than $1,000 a year in her life, she's always having money in the bank. While so many people think they're not saving money because they don't make enough money, the truth is that saving money is more of a psychological thing than the quantity of money you make. For you to understand how rich we are today, all you need to do is see this chart. At the beginning of 1800, 82% of the world's population lived on less than $2 a day. At the beginning of 1900, about 75% of the world's population lived on less than $2 a day. The first time in human history when more people were living on more than $2 a day than those in extreme poverty was in the year 1966. And by 2017, only about 9% of humans lived in extreme poverty. But guess what? For thousands of years that our ancestors lived in absolute poverty, many of them still saved money, gold, or their valuables. Now, let's look at the second excuse people give for not saving money. Even if I save money, I can only save a small amount, which will mean nothing. By this, people mean even if I save 5% of my income, that will probably be just $50 a month. And how can that change my life in any significant way? Well, what these people don't understand is that saving money isn't just about the quantity of the money you have in the bank. What studies found is that saving money actually changes your entire life. According to this study published in 2007 by Science Direct. In the study, Megan Otin and Ken Chang asked participants to undertake a money management program, which involved similar exercises such as tracking and automating their finances and setting goals. Unsurprisingly, the personal financial situations of the participants improved. But something else happened, and that is, The researchers found that participants were also smoking fewer cigarettes, drinking less alcohol and caffeine, and eating less junk food. Listen, because the following statement will surprise you. Just by having some discipline to save money and set goals, the participants were found to be more productive at work. How can we explain this? You see, Charles Duhigg wrote, and I quote, "As people strengthen their willpower muscles in one part of their lives, in the gym or in a money management program, that strength spilled over into what they ate or how hard they worked. Once willpower became stronger, it touched everything." To understand how this works, you have to think about your mind as you think about your muscles. Let's say you started going to the gym because you want to lose weight. Even though losing weight is your primary goal, you'll end up with more energy, a stronger body, a better mood, more confidence, better sleep, and let me shock you, a study of 2,000 Americans found that people who exercise regularly make an average of $25,000 more money annually than those who said they never exercise. Wow! How can we explain this? Well, here is the trick. Whenever you become disciplined in one area of your life, becoming disciplined in another area is a lot easier. So, for people who think they can't save money because saving $10 a month means nothing, what studies found is that if you can get yourself disciplined enough to save even $5 every month, that discipline will spill over to your productivity, your health, your relationship, and even your income, which might lead to more income and then more savings. In his 1926 book, The Richest Man in Babylon, George Clason wrote, "Wealth, like a tree, grows from a tiny seed. The first copper you save is the seed from which your tree of wealth shall grow. The sooner you plant that seed, the sooner the tree grows." Even though I had tried in this video to debunk common excuses people make for not saving, I think there are a few other things you need to understand about why it is always easy to spend everything you earn than to save. To understand what I am about to discuss, we first have to understand the basic thing about human nature. You see, around the year 1968, two psychologists, Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, became friends and started working together on different projects. Together, Kahneman and Tversky published a series of seminal articles in the general field of judgment and decision-making, culminating in the publication of their prospect theory in 1979 and Judgment Under Certainty in 1982. It was from the works of these two psychologists that we know for the first time that humans' decisions are made with our emotions. In other words, you're not the rational being you wished you believed you are. In his 2003 book, How Consumers Think, the Harvard researcher Gerald Zaltzman wrote, "When it comes to buying, 95% of our decision-making takes place in the unconscious mind." According to the philosopher Philip Johnson Llard, humans are rational in principle, but they err in practice. We have intelligence and we sometimes use it, but not as often as we think. Understanding this alone can give you some clue into why you spend money the way you do. But there's more to it. You see, there's this psychological concept I like to call different yous. Different yous is the idea that whenever you think about your future self, you tend to see him or her as a stranger you don't have to care for. Several studies reveal that we often treat our future selves like complete strangers. In one study, Emily Pronin, a psychologist at Princeton University, asked people to make decisions about how much of a disgusting cocktail to drink. Some chose for themselves, some for the next participant, and some for themselves in 2 weeks' time. When choosing for themselves, people opted for the smallest dose, but they went for a larger amount for another person, and of course for their future selves. In another study, Hal Hershfield, a psychologist at the UCLA Anderson School of Management, wanted to know why people weren't saving for retirement. Hershfield and his team scanned the brains of study participants while asking them to what degrees various traits like honorable or funny apply to their current self, their future self, a current other, or a future other. As participants answered, Hirschfield's team recorded which parts of their brains lit up. Unsurprisingly, people's brains were most active when thinking about their current selves and least active when thinking about other people. Guess what? Hirschfield's team found that participants' brain activities while considering their future selves more closely resembled brain activity while thinking about other people. So think about that for a second. Whenever you think about your present person, you care about that person. But whenever you think about your future person, most of us see that person as a complete stranger. Since we don't care about a stranger that much, we simply have no convincing reason to care for our future selves. Now you see why most of us spend everything we earn, eat junk food, smoke, and treat our bodies badly. Saving money is for the future, and that future self is seen as a stranger in your mind. Why would you delay pleasure for the person you don't care about? In his 2003 book, The Total Money Makeover, Dave Ramsey wrote, and I quote, "It is human nature to want it and want it now. It is also a sign of immaturity. Being willing to delay pleasure for a greater result is a sign of maturity." There is another phenomenon called end-of-history illusion. End-of-history illusion is the mental illusion that makes us think the future will be like the present. For example, people who have good jobs or good businesses right now are likely to deceive themselves that they'll have such businesses or jobs in the future. People who win the lottery tend to believe since they have $10 million now, so will it be in the future, regardless of how careless they are. People who are young and can work unconsciously believe that they'll be young enough to make money in the future. Now, think about this. With the end-of-history illusion, spending every penny you earn just seems like a normal thing to do. But it is an illusion. Your future self is in fact you, and your future can drastically be altered by something you least expect. There's another phenomenon psychologists call false optimism. False optimism is the idea that negative things cannot happen to you. So, for example, if you're driving on the road and see a motor accident, even though you might be shocked at first, the next thing your mind will unconsciously tell you is that, oh, that can't happen to me. When a country decides to go with war with another country, it is always because of false optimism. When someone smokes and gets drunk every day, despite what science says about smoking and drunkenness, it is false optimism. False optimism is one of the reasons we don't care about savings. We somehow believe we can't lose our jobs, crash our cars, or have a serious disease that needs money. Another phenomenon that explains why we don't save money is called Peter Pan syndrome. Peter Pan syndrome is the term taken from Dr. Dan Cayley's 1983 book titled The Peter Pan Syndrome: Men Who Have Never Grown Up. I think that title explains itself. So, what's the solution to end-of-history illusion? False optimism, the Peter Pan syndrome, and the idea that your future self is a stranger you don't have to care about. In his 1996 book, The Millionaire Next Door, Thomas J. Stanley wrote, and I quote, "One of the reasons that millionaires are economically successful is that they think differently." You have to think differently about your future. Let me suggest how you can do that. You see, I read something very interesting from Dr. Peter Collett, a researcher at Oxford University. This concept is called the disturb technique, normally used by financial consultants to persuade their clients to change their ways. The disturb technique works on the idea that if you can get your mind to see calamities in your future, you'll start preparing for that future. Think about this. Everything about end-of-history illusion, false optimism, the Peter Pan syndrome, and the idea that your future self is a stranger you don't have to care about is an illusion. In fact, your future self is you. Negative things can happen to you. You can lose your job, your business can fail, and you'll definitely get old. So, okay, what if I can get you to imagine some of these negative things every night? It sounds scary, right? But it can also make you wise. Every Monday, before you sleep, imagine that you'd lose your job and you can't find another one. On Tuesday, imagine that the economy collapses and every company is downsizing, including yours. And then on Wednesday, imagine you have an auto crash and need money to fix your car. Every Thursday, imagine you're retired and broke. Well, studies have found that the number one reason why people who save a lot of money save money is because of fear. Fear of a future that could be different, fear of being homeless, fear of whatever. You don't have to imagine bad things every night as I suggested, but you have to have some healthy fear about your future, or else you'll never get yourself to save money. I checked the word count of the script for this video and found that I have written about 2,300 words so far, and this is just about half of what I wish to share with you about this topic. I'd like to make the second part of this video. Please find the link to it in the description or click it on your screen now. Thanks for watching.